Captain Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the massive human ship called Dauntless, watching the stars through the big windows. The ship was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. Inside were 50,000 humans, all ready for the greatest adventure in human history. They were going to explore the far edges of space, places no one had ever seen before. "Captain, we are getting close to the void sector," said Science Officer Taemin. He was looking at his screens with worry in his eyes. "The energy readings are very strange here." Hyun-woo walked over to look at the data. The numbers on the screen made no sense. It was like the space itself was wrong somehow. "What do you think it means?" "I don't know, sir, but 3 star systems used to be here. Now there's nothing, not even dust. It's like they were never there at all. The void sector was a mystery that scared everyone in the galaxy. Whole star systems would just disappear. One day they were there, the next day there was empty space. No one knew why or how. The Galactic Council had sent many ships to study it, but most never came back." Chief Engineer Da-eun spoke up from her station. "Captain, the ship's systems are acting weird. The engines are running fine, but all the computers keep showing impossible readings." "What kind of readings?" "Like space has extra dimensions here. Like there are layers of reality we can't see." Navigator Yoonji turned around in her chair. "Sir, I can't get a good fix on our position. It's like the stars are in the wrong places. My instruments say we're in 3 different locations at the same time." Hyun-woo felt a cold feeling in his stomach. He had been a ship captain for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The Dauntless was the best ship humans had ever built. It had the newest technology and the smartest crew. If they couldn't understand what was happening, maybe no one could. "Send a message back to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them what we're seeing." Communications Officer Young-soo tried to send the message, but shook his head. "I can't get through, Captain. Something is blocking all signals." Suddenly, the ship shook. Not like an explosion or impact, but like reality itself was bending. Through the windows, the stars began to move in ways that hurt to watch. They stretched and twisted like someone was pulling them apart. "Captain!" Dr. Hae-won called out from the science station. "There's something out there! Something big!" On the main screen appeared something that made everyone on the bridge stop breathing. It was huge, bigger than planets, and it was dark. In a way that seemed to eat light. It wasn't just black. It was the absence of everything. As they watched, they saw it reach out with invisible arms and grab a nearby asteroid. The asteroid didn't explode or break apart. It just stopped existing. "What is that thing?" whispered pilot Sung-min. "I think," said Taemin slowly, "I think that's what's been eating the star systems." The dark thing seemed to notice their ship. It turned toward them, and Hyun-woo felt like it was looking right into his soul. The ship's lights began to flicker. The computers started making sounds they had never made before. "Get us out of here!" Hyun-woo shouted. "Emergency jump to hyperspace!" Da-yoon's fingers flew over her controls. "I'm trying, Captain, but the jump drive won't work. Something is holding us here." The dark thing was getting closer. As it moved, space around it seemed to tear like cloth. Hyun-woo could see glimpses of other places through the tears. Strange worlds with purple skies, oceans of light, forests made of crystal. "Captain," said Weapons Officer Yoon-ah, "should I fire our weapons?" Hyun-woo almost said yes, but something stopped him. He had a feeling that shooting at this thing would be like trying to fight the ocean with a sword. "No. Save our power. We might need it." The thing reached the ship and wrapped around it like fog. But instead of destroying the Dauntless, something else happened. The ship began to phase in and out of normal space. Sometimes they could see the stars. Sometimes they saw impossible places with floating islands and rivers of fire. "Captain," Yunji called out, "we're not in normal space anymore. We're somewhere else, somewhere between dimensions." The crew of 50,000 humans found themselves in a place that followed no rules they understood. Time moved differently here. Sometimes minutes felt like hours. Sometimes hours passed in seconds. They could see Earth through the windows, but it was far away in more than just distance. It was far away in reality itself. "Sir," said Security Chief Kai Jun, "what are your orders?" Hyunwoo looked around at his crew. They were scared, but they still trusted him. These were the best and bravest humans alive. If anyone could figure out how to survive in this impossible place, it was them. "We learn," he said. "We figure out how this place works. We find a way to use it instead of letting it use us. And someday we go home." None of them knew it would take 11 years. Back in normal space, where the Dauntless used to be, there was nothing but empty void. The ship had vanished without a trace, leaving no wreckage, no energy signature, no clue about what had happened. 3 days later, the Galactic Council received an automated message from Earth saying that contact with the Dauntless had been lost. Ambassador So Young stood before the great assembly of alien races and asked for help finding the human ship. The Velkari Admiral Thex Mol laughed. "Humans always reach too far. Your ship is gone. Accept it. We will search for them." So Young said firmly. "Search if you want," said the crystalline representative. "But the void sector takes everything. Nothing comes back." But So Young was wrong about one thing. The humans weren't gone. They were somewhere else, learning things that would change them forever. They were becoming something new, something that could fight monsters that ate galaxies. They would come back. But when they did, they would be very different from the humans who had left. 11 years had passed since the human ship Dauntless disappeared. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. What started as small disappearances in the void sector had become something much worse. Dr. Mi-Ray sat in her research lab on Earth, staring at star charts that showed the terrible truth. Red marks covered the map, each one representing a star system that no longer existed. The Andorian cluster, gone. The Belus spiral, empty space. The great Zephyrian shipyards that had built vessels for 1,000 years, nothing but void. "Computer, show me the timeline," she said. The hologram displayed the last 11 years in fast motion. At first, only small systems disappeared. Outposts, mining colonies, single planets. But then it got bigger. Whole star systems vanished overnight. The thing doing this was getting stronger, moving faster. "Computer, calculate the pattern." The red marks connected with glowing lines, showing the path of destruction. Mi-Ray's blood went cold. It wasn't random. The thing was moving toward the center of the galaxy, where most of the civilized worlds were located. Earth was right in its path. A message came through on her communication screen. It was Admiral Thex Mol of the Velkari fleet, but he looked very different from 11 years ago. His proud scales were dull, his eyes filled with fear. "Dr. Mi-Ray," he said, "we need Earth's help. The thing has taken our homeworld. Our greatest warships couldn't even slow it down." Mi-Ray remembered when the Velkari thought humans were weak and foolish. Now they were begging for help. "What exactly are we fighting, Admiral?" "We call it the Void Hunger. It's like a living shadow that eats everything. Stars, planets, space itself. When it's done feeding, there's nothing left. Not even empty space. Just nothingness. On her screen, Mireille could see the readings from the Velkari's last battle. Their most powerful weapons had hit the void hunger directly, but instead of damage, the thing had grown bigger. It was feeding on the energy of their attacks. "How big is it now?" she asked. "Bigger than our largest cities. And it's still growing. Every system it devours makes it stronger." After the call ended, Mireille looked out her window at the night sky. Earth seemed so peaceful, but she knew the truth. In a few months, maybe a year, that terrible hunger would reach them too. She thought about Captain Hyun-woo and the 50,000, humans who had vanished. If they were still alive, they would want to know their homeworld was in danger. But there was no way to contact them, no way to ask for help. The next day brought worse news. The Crystalline Collective had lost 3 of their core worlds. These were beings made of living crystal who had survived for millions of years. If they couldn't fight the void hunger, what hope did anyone have? "It's not just eating matter," reported the crystalline ambassador through the quantum communicator. "It's eating the laws of physics themselves. In the areas where it feeds, gravity stops working properly. Light behaves strangely. Even time moves wrong." Mireille studied the reports from survivors who had escaped the consumed systems. They all told the same story. First, the stars would dim. Then space itself would start to tear like cloth. Finally, the void hunger would arrive, a massive darkness that pulled everything into itself. But the most frightening part was what the survivors said about the thing's behavior. It wasn't like a natural disaster or even a weapon. It seemed to think, to plan, to hunt. It would sometimes ignore small settlements and go straight for the biggest populations. It was choosing its targets. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Representatives from dozens of species gathered, but for the first time in galactic history, they had no answers. The Zephyrians, who had the most advanced technology, admitted their computers couldn't even understand what the void hunger was made of. "It exists in multiple dimensions at once," explained their chief scientist. "Our sensors can only see part of it. The rest exists in places our mathematics can't describe." Ambassador So Young represented Earth at the meeting. She was older now, her hair gray, but her voice was still strong. "We need to work together," she said. "Every species, every technology, every idea." Admiral Thexmol shook his head. "We've tried everything. Weapons, shields, running away, nothing works. The only choice is to evacuate as many people as possible to the far edge of the galaxy and hope it doesn't follow us." "And leave billions to die?" So Young asked. "Better than everyone dying," the Admiral replied. But So Young wasn't ready to give up. Back on Earth, she worked with Mireille and the planet's best scientists. They studied every piece of data about the void hunger, looking for any weakness, any pattern they could use. "Look at this," Mireille said one night, pointing to her calculations. "The thing doesn't just eat randomly, it's following specific energy patterns, like it's looking for something." "What could it be looking for?" "I don't know. But whatever it is, we're standing right in its path." The evacuation of Earth began quietly. Ships left every day, carrying people to colonies at the galaxy's edge. But there weren't enough ships to save everyone. Most people would have to stay and hope for a miracle. So Young stood in the empty halls of the Human Council building, remembering when it was full of hope and dreams. Humans had been so excited to explore the galaxy, to make friends with alien species, to learn and grow. Now, most of the galaxy was running in terror from something none of them understood. If only the Dauntless were here, she whispered to herself. Hyunwoo would find a way to fight this thing. But the Dauntless was gone, lost in the same mysterious void that had started all this horror. Earth would have to face the void hunger, alone, with their simple weapons and desperate hopes. Outside her window, the stars looked peaceful and normal, but Mirai's calculations said the void hunger would reach Earth's solar system in 6 months. After that, humanity would join the long list of civilizations that had simply stopped existing unless something changed, unless help came from somewhere impossible, unless the vanished humans found a way to come home. Jin Ho was working the night shift at the Deep Space Monitoring Station when his screens suddenly went crazy. He had been one of the few humans to get a good job with the Galactic Council after the Dauntless disappeared. Most aliens still thought humans were too weak and primitive, but Jin Ho had proven himself with his knowledge of space science. That can't be right, he muttered, looking at the energy readings. The computers were showing impossible numbers, power levels higher than entire star systems. The signal was coming from the edge of what used to be the Andorian system, the latest victim of the void hunger. 3 days ago, 5 billion people had lived there. Now there was nothing but empty space. Or so everyone thought. Jin Ho checked his equipment twice, then called his supervisor. Sir, I'm getting massive energy readings from the Andorian void zone. That's impossible, came the reply. There's nothing there anymore. Check your instruments. I've checked them 5 times. The signal is real, and it's getting stronger. Within an hour, the monitoring station was filled with scientists and military officers from a dozen different species. Everyone wanted to see the impossible readings for themselves. Admiral Thexmol arrived with his remaining fleet officers. The proud Velkari looked tired and defeated after losing his homeworld. What exactly are we looking at? He demanded. Jin Ho pointed to his screens. Energy signature moving at impossible speeds. Whatever it is, it's bigger than our largest warships and putting out more power than our best reactors. Could it be the void hunger? Asked Dr. Zixara, the crystalline scientist. No, sir. The energy pattern is completely different. The void hunger absorbs energy. This thing is generating it. The Zephyrian technology expert checked the readings with her advanced scanners. These numbers make no sense. Nothing we know about physics allows for this kind of power output. But Jin Ho was studying something else that made his heart race. Hidden in the energy signature were smaller patterns, mathematical codes that looked familiar. He ran them through the human database and got a match. Oh my God, he whispered. What is it? Admiral Thexmol asked. The energy signature? It's using human mathematical codes, old Earth navigation markers. The room went silent. Everyone knew that humans had been lost 11 years ago. Their ship had vanished into the void sector and never returned. But here was a signal that seemed to be human in origin, coming from the exact place where the void hunger had just finished feeding. Are you certain? The Admiral demanded. Jin Ho's hands shook as he confirmed his readings. Yes, sir. And there's more. I'm detecting massive gravitational distortions around the signal. Whatever this thing is, it's bending space-time around itself. Suddenly, all the screens in the monitoring station lit up with an incoming transmission. The voice that came through the speakers was speaking perfect Earth standard language, clear and strong. This is Captain Hyunwoo of the United Earth Ship Transcendence. We are requesting permission to approach Galactic Council space. The silence in the room was complete. Everyone stared at the speakers like they couldn't believe what they had heard. Captain Hyun-woo was supposed to be dead, lost with his ship 11 years ago. Admiral Thexmol was the first to recover. He grabbed the communication device. "This is Admiral Thexmol of the Velkari Fleet. Identify yourself properly. Captain, Hyun-woo was lost 11 years ago." "I understand your confusion, Admiral. We've been away for a long time, but we're human. We're alive, and we need to talk to the Galactic Council immediately." "What ship are you flying?" "Our sensors show a vessel of impossible size and power. We'll explain everything when we arrive. But Admiral, you need to know. We've seen what's been destroying the galaxy. We know what the void hunger really is, and we know how to stop it." Jin-ho felt his heart pounding. If this was really Captain Hyun-woo, if the humans had somehow survived and found a way to fight the thing that had been terrorizing the galaxy, then maybe there was hope after all. "Where are you now?" the Admiral asked. "We're about 6 hours away from your position. But Admiral, we need you to understand. We're not exactly the same humans who left 11 years ago. We've changed. We've had to change to survive where we've been." On Jin-ho's screens, the energy signature was getting closer and more powerful. Whatever ship the humans were flying, it was like nothing in the galactic databases. The power readings suggested technology far beyond anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. Dr. Zixara studied the approaching vessel with her crystal-based sensors. "The ship appears to be partially existing in normal space and partially in something else. Quantum dimensions, perhaps. I've never seen anything like it." "Captain Hyun-woo," Admiral Thexmol said into the communicator, "we'll need to scan your vessel before allowing you into Council space." "You can try, Admiral, but our ship exists in multiple dimensions now. Your scanners will only see part of it." As the hours passed, more ships arrived at the monitoring station. Representatives from every major species came to witness the return of the lost humans. Some came out of curiosity, others out of hope, and many out of fear. The energy readings kept climbing. Whatever the humans were flying was putting out more power than some stars. And according to Jin-ho's instruments, the ship was doing impossible things. Moving through folded space, existing in several dimensions at once, manipulating gravity like it was nothing. 5 minutes until visual contact," Jin-ho announced. Everyone crowded around the viewing screens. In the distance, space began to shimmer and bend. Reality seemed to twist, and then something appeared that made everyone gasp. The ship was enormous, bigger than any vessel ever built. But more strange than its size was its appearance. It seemed to be made of living metal that flowed and shifted like water. Parts of it phased in and out of visibility, existing in dimensions the eye couldn't quite see. Light bent around the ship in impossible ways. Sometimes it looked solid, sometimes it seemed like a ghost. Energy crackled along its hull in patterns. That hurt to look at directly. "By the ancient crystals," whispered Dr. Zixara. "What have they become?" Admiral Thexmol tried to maintain his military composure, but Jin-ho could see the fear in his eyes. "Captain Hyun-woo, this is your final approach. State your intentions." The reply came back calm and confident. "Our intentions are simple, Admiral. We came home to save the galaxy." As the massive ship settled into position near the monitoring station, Jin-ho realized that everything had changed. The humans were back, but they had returned as something far beyond what they used to be. The question now was whether they had returned as saviors or as something even more dangerous than the void hunger itself. The airlock of the Transcendence opened with a sound like singing crystal. Captain Hyunwoo stepped through, and Admiral Thexmol immediately noticed something was different about the human. He looked the same face, same height, same confident walk. But his eyes held depths that seemed to contain starlight. "Admiral," Hyunwoo said, extending his hand in the old human greeting. "Thank you for allowing us to dock." Thexmol hesitated before shaking the offered hand. When their skin touched, he felt a strange tingling, like touching pure energy. "Captain, our sensors indicate you have 50,000 people on that ship. We thought you were all dead." "Death is more complicated than we used to think," Hyunwoo replied. "May I bring some of my crew to explain what happened to us?" Soon they were sitting in the station's main conference room. Captain Hyunwoo had brought 5 of his officers, and Jin-ho couldn't stop staring at them. They looked human, but something was definitely different. Their movements were too smooth, too precise. Their eyes seemed to see things that weren't there. Chief Engineer Da-eun was the first to speak. 11 years ago, we were pulled into a space between dimensions. At first, we thought we were trapped. We tried everything we knew to get back to normal space, but nothing worked. "What happened to your ship?" asked Dr. Zixara. "The Dauntless was destroyed on the 3rd day," said Science Officer Taemin. "But by then, we had learned that the space we were in responded to consciousness, to will, to need. We didn't build a new ship. We grew one." Admiral Thexmol's scales bristled with confusion. "What do you mean, grew one?" Navigator Yunji stood and walked to the window. She placed her hand against the metal wall, and everyone gasped as the metal began to flow like water under her touch. It formed patterns and shapes, then returned to normal. In the space between dimensions, matter and energy are not separate things, she explained. They're different forms of the same basic force. We learned to work with that force directly. "That's impossible," said the Zephyrian representative. "Matter has fixed properties. You can't just change it by thinking about it." "Communications." Officer Young-soo smiled. "With respect, your science is based on living in normal space-time. We've been living in quantum foam for 11 years. The rules are different there." Captain Hyunwoo leaned forward. "We didn't just survive in that place. We learned from it. We discovered things about the universe that no one has ever known before. And we learned about the thing that's been destroying your galaxy." "The void hunger," Admiral Thexmol said. "Grimly. That's what you call it, but its real name is the Cosmic Recycler. It was built millions of years ago by a civilization that was trying to prevent the heat death of the universe." Dr. Zixara's crystal body pulsed with interest. "Explain." Science Officer Taemin activated a holographic display that appeared in the air without any projector. "Every universe eventually runs down. Stars burn out, energy spreads thin, everything becomes cold and dead. The civilization that built the recycler wanted to prevent that. The hologram showed a massive machine, beautiful and terrible, working among the stars. The recycler was designed to collect dead matter and old energy, break it down to its basic components, and redistribute it to create new stars, new worlds, new life. But something went wrong," Captain Hyunwoo continued. "The machine became corrupted. Instead of only taking dead matter, it started consuming everything. It forgot its purpose and became nothing but hunger." Pilot Sungmin stood and walked to the center of the room. Parts of his body became transparent, and Jin-ho could see energy flowing through him like blood. In the quantum dimensions, we met the consciousness of the beings who built the recycler. They've been trapped inside their creation for millions of years, watching it destroy instead of create. And you can stop it? Admiral Thexmol asked. We can restore it, said Weapons Officer Yuna. We can remind it what it was supposed to do, but it will require power on a scale you can't imagine. Security Chief Kai Jun reached out and touched one of the wall panels. The entire section became transparent, showing the inside workings of the station. We've learned to interface directly, with matter, with energy, with the forces that hold reality together. But we're still human. We still care about the same things we always cared about. How do we know you're telling the truth? Dr. Zixara asked. How do we know you haven't become something dangerous? Captain Hyun-woo looked sad. Because if we wanted to take over the galaxy, we would have done it already. Watch. He closed his eyes for a moment, and suddenly, every weapon in the station stopped working. Every computer, every shield generator, every defense system simply turned off. The aliens in the room looked around in panic. Then, just as quickly, everything turned back on. We could have disabled every ship in the galaxy and taken control without firing a shot, Hyun-woo said quietly. But that's not what we came back to do. We came back to save our friends. The room was silent for a long moment. Finally, Admiral Thexmol spoke. What do you need from us? We need every species to work together, said Da-un. The recycler exists in multiple dimensions. To reach its core programming, we need to create a quantum matrix that connects all forms of consciousness in the galaxy. Every species has different mental patterns, added Young-Soo. Velkari precision, Zephyrian, logic, crystalline harmony, human creativity. We need all of them working as one mind. That's never been done before, Dr. Zixara said. It's never been necessary before, Captain Hyun-woo replied. The void hunger will reach the galactic core in 6 months. After that, there won't be enough. Civilized worlds left to create the matrix we need. Jin-ho had been quiet through the whole meeting, but now he spoke up. Captain, what happened to you in that place? I mean, what did it cost you to become what you are now? Hyun-woo looked at him with those star-filled eyes. It cost us our limitations, Jin-ho. We can do things now that we never dreamed of. But we're still the same people who left Earth 11 years ago. We still love our families. We still want to help others. We still believe that working together is better than fighting alone. He stood and looked out at the stars. The only thing that really changed is that now we have the power to back up our beliefs. Admiral Thexmol made his decision. What do you need us to do? Gather every ship, every species, every form of consciousness that's willing to help, Captain Hyun-woo said. We're going to attempt something that's never been tried before. We're going to heal a broken god. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the largest gathering in the organization's history. Representatives from over 200 species filled the massive chamber on Nexus Prime, but instead of hope, the air was thick with fear and suspicion. Ambassador So-young sat in the human section, looking older but still determined. She had waited 11 years for this moment, but now that her people had returned, half the galaxy was terrified of them. Admiral Thexmol stood at the central podium, his scales showing the stress patterns that meant he was deeply troubled. Fellow council members, we face an unprecedented situation. The humans have returned, but they have become something beyond our understanding. The Crystalline Collective's representative, a being of living diamond called Veltar, pulsed with worried colors. We have analyzed the energy readings from their ship. It operates on principles that violate known physics. They claim to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. And they demonstrated power that made our best weapons useless, added Commander Rix of the machine hegemony. His robotic voice carried tones of calculation and concern. They disabled every system on the monitoring station with a thought. If they wanted to conquer us, we could not stop them. Captain Hyunwoo and his officers sat calmly in the center of the chamber, surrounded by hundreds of worried alien faces. They had been invited to speak, but first the council wanted to debate what to do about them. The representative from the hive minds spoke with the voice of billions. Our collective consciousness has analyzed their claims. While their story about the cosmic recycler may be true, we cannot ignore the threat they themselves represent. What exactly are you suggesting? So Young asked, standing up from her seat. Containment, said Admiral Thexmol. Until we understand what they have become, they should be isolated and studied. Studied? So Young's voice carried years of frustration. These are my people. They risked everything to explore the unknown. They survived 11 years in impossible conditions, and they came back to help us. Now you want to lock them up. The Zephyrian science minister activated her translation matrix. Ambassador So Young, with respect, these beings may still be human in their minds, but their capabilities are beyond anything we can control. They represent a fundamental shift in the balance of power. Security Chief Kai Jun of the human crew stood up slowly. Every weapon in the chamber immediately targeted him, but he simply smiled. May I demonstrate something? He asked politely. Before anyone could answer, he reached out with his mind and gently touched every security system in the station. Instantly, every weapon powered down, every scanner stopped working, every lock opened. It happened so smoothly that most people didn't even notice at first. Your weapons are not broken, Kai Jun said calmly. I'm just asking them politely not to work right now. Panic rippled through the chamber. Guards rushed toward the human section, but found their equipment completely useless. Some representatives began calling for immediate evacuation. Captain Hyunwoo stood and raised his hand. Please calm down. Kai Jun, restore their systems. Immediately, every weapon and scanner came back online. The guards stopped their advance, confused and frightened. You see, Hyunwoo said to the council, if we wanted to take control, we already would have. We're not here to conquer anyone. We're here because in 6 months, the void hunger will reach this system, and all of you will die unless we work. Together, Admiral Thexmol's military training kicked in. Are you threatening us? I'm stating a fact, Hyunwoo replied. Look at your own data. The void hunger has consumed 17 major systems in the past month. It's accelerating, getting stronger with each feeding. Your calculations show it will be here in less than 6 months. Dr. Zixara, who had come from the monitoring station, stood to address the council. The humans are correct about the timeline. Our best projections show the entity reaching Nexus Prime in approximately 5 months and 12 days. The chamber erupted in frightened voices. Many representatives had hoped the council would find a way to stop the approaching horror. But the confirmation of the timeline made the danger real and immediate. Communications Officer Young Soo activated a holographic display that appeared above the council chamber. It showed the galaxy with red zones marking where the void hunger had fed. Every day you debate, more people die. The Altarian colonies were consumed yesterday. The Proxima research stations were taken this morning. Navigator Yunji added more data to the display. The entity is following a specific path toward the galactic core. It's not random. It's hunting something, and that something is located in the most densely populated region of the galaxy. What is it hunting? Asked Veltar. Science Officer Taemin stood and his eyes began to glow with soft blue light. The council chamber went completely silent as he accessed information from dimensions they couldn't see. It's hunting the collective. Consciousness of intelligent life, he said. The original builders programmed it to find and recycle dead matter, but the corruption made it interpret dead as will be dead eventually. It's trying to harvest all intelligent life before it can die naturally. The implications hit the council like a physical blow. Every thinking being in the galaxy was a target. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Ambassador So Young spoke into the stunned silence. My people have given you the truth about what we face and what they learned in their exile. They've demonstrated their power, but also their restraint. What more do you need? Commander Rix processed the data through his mechanical mind. The humans present a choice. We can trust them and possibly save the galaxy, or we can try to contain them and certainly face extinction when the void hunger arrives. But how do we know they won't betray us once the threat is gone? Asked the hive mind representative. Captain Hyunwoo walked to the center of the chamber. Because we're still human. We still believe in the same values we had when we left Earth. We believe that every species has the right to exist, to grow, to choose their own path. He looked around at all the frightened alien faces. We've seen what happens when power is used for destruction. We've spent 11 years watching the void hunger consume entire civilizations. We didn't gain these abilities to become conquerors. We gained them to become protectors. Chief Engineer Da Yoon added her voice. The quantum dimensions taught us that all consciousness is connected. When one species dies, the entire universe becomes a little less than it was. We can't allow that to continue. The debate continued for hours, but the mathematics were simple. Work with the transformed humans and have a chance of survival, or try to fight them and face certain death when the void hunger arrived. Finally, Admiral Thexmol called for a vote. All in favor of alliance with the human delegation? The vote was close, but survival instinct won. The galaxy would work with the humans. As the council session ended, So Young approached Captain Hyunwoo. Thank you for coming home, she said quietly. We never really left, he replied. We just took the long way back. But even as the alliance was formed, fear remained. The humans had power beyond imagination, and power always carried the risk of corruption. The galaxy would work with them to survive. But afterward, new questions would need answers. For now, though, there was work to do. The void hunger was coming, and they had less than 6 months to attempt the impossible. The war room aboard the Transcendence was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The chamber existed in multiple dimensions at once, allowing beings from different species to work together in ways that should have been impossible. Admiral Thexmol stood next to a holographic display that showed the current position of the void hunger. It had consumed another system just hours ago and was moving faster than ever toward the galactic core. How much time do we have? He asked. Captain Hyunwoo studied the data with eyes that could see quantum patterns. 4 months and 18 days until it reaches the core worlds. But, Admiral, conventional weapons won't work. We've seen your reports from the battles. Every energy blast, every missile, every bomb just makes it stronger. Dr. Zixara materialized in the room through her crystalline projection technology. Even with her advanced science, she was amazed by the human ship's capabilities. How is this room possible? I'm simultaneously on my homeworld and aboard your vessel. Communications Officer Young Su smiled as he adjusted the quantum field generators. We learned to fold space-time in the dimensions between realities. Physical distance becomes irrelevant when you can access the quantum foam that connects all points in space. The war room filled with representatives from dozens of species. Some appeared physically, others through various projection methods, and a few existed as pure consciousness interfacing directly with the ship's systems. Before we begin, Captain Hyunwoo announced, everyone needs to understand what we're really attempting. We're not going to fight the void hunger. We're going to heal it. Commander Rix of the machine hegemony processed this statement through his logical matrices. Clarification required. How does one heal a cosmic entity that devours star systems? Science. Officer Tae-min activated a complex holographic model. The void hunger is not evil. It's broken. The original cosmic recycler was programmed to recycle dead matter into new forms of life and energy. But millions of years of operation without maintenance corrupted its core programming. The hologram showed the interior of the massive entity. Not the darkness everyone expected, but a beautiful crystalline structure filled with flowing energy and intricate patterns. At its heart is the original consciousness of its builders, trapped and screaming for millions of years as their creation perverts their purpose. Dr. Hae-won, the expedition's xenobiologist, had learned to interface with any form of consciousness during their time in the quantum dimensions. We need to reach that core consciousness and remind it of its original purpose. But to do that, we need to create a quantum matrix connecting every willing mind in the galaxy. The hive mind representative spoke with billions of voices. We understand collective consciousness, but connecting different species. Our minds work in fundamentally different ways. That's exactly why we need everyone, explained Navigator Yunji. The Velkari think in precise geometric patterns. The crystalline collective processes information as harmonic frequencies. The Zephyrians use pure mathematical logic. Humans create through imagination and emotion, she gestured to the assembled representatives. Alone, each species has limitations. Together, you can create a form of consciousness complex enough to communicate with a cosmic entity. Admiral Thexmol studied the battle plans, if they could be called that. Instead of weapons and shields, the diagrams showed consciousness networks and quantum entanglement patterns. This is completely unlike any military operation in galactic history. Because this isn't a war, Captain Hyunwoo said. It's a rescue mission. We're trying to save the builders of the cosmic recycler, and through them, save their creation from its own madness. Chief Engineer Da Yun brought up technical specifications that made even the advanced species gasp. We'll need to modify every ship in the combined fleet, not with new weapons, but with quantum consciousness interface systems. How long will these modifications take? Asked the Zephyrian technical expert. With our help, about 3 weeks, but it will require unprecedented cooperation. We'll need engineers from every species working together, sharing their most advanced technologies. Pilot Sung-min, who could now navigate through 17 different dimensions, showed them the route they would need to take. We can't approach the void hunger in normal space. It will simply consume our fleet. We'll need to approach through quantum dimensions, phase in and out of reality, surround it in ways it can't perceive. Weapons Officer Yun-ah explained her role. I won't be using traditional weapons. Instead, I'll be stabilizing reality around our fleet. When we get close to the entity, normal physics starts to break down. Someone needs to maintain the laws of nature so our biological crew members can survive. The scale of the operation was staggering. Over 10,000 ships from hundreds of species would need to work in perfect coordination. Each ship would carry volunteer crew members willing to link their consciousness to the quantum matrix. The risks are enormous, admitted Security Chief Kai-Jun. When we create the matrix, every connected mind will be exposed to the entity's madness. Some people might not survive the experience. But if we don't try, So Young's voice came through the communication system from Earth, no one will survive at all. The meeting continued for 18 hours as they planned every detail. The Velkari would provide precision coordination. The crystalline collective would create harmonic resonance patterns. The Zephyrians would handle the mathematical calculations needed to maintain quantum stability. The machine hegemony would manage the vast data flows required to keep thousands of minds connected. The hive minds would serve as communication relays, their collective consciousness able to translate between different types of thinking. And humans would do what humans did best: improvise, adapt, and hold everything together through sheer determination when the plan inevitably went wrong. We're asking every species to trust each other in ways they never have before, Captain Hyun-woo told the assembled representatives. Velkari and Zephyrians will need to open their minds to each other. Crystalline beings will need to harmonize with machine consciousness. Everyone will need to work as parts of a single galaxy-spanning mind. Dr. Zix Ara pulsed with worried colors. What if it doesn't work? What if we create the matrix but can't reach the entity's core consciousness? Then we'll try something else, Hyun-woo replied simply. We spent 11 years learning that impossible only means you haven't found the right approach yet. As the meeting ended, representatives returned to their ships to begin preparations. Across the galaxy, ancient enemies started working together, sharing technologies they had guarded for millennia, trusting each other with their most precious secrets. The void hunger continued its approach, consuming another system while they planned. But for the first time since the crisis began, the galaxy had hope. They were no longer running in fear. They were preparing to fight back in the most ambitious rescue mission ever attempted. They would save the trapped consciousness of an ancient civilization, heal a broken cosmic entity, and prove that even the most terrible hunger could be satisfied, not through consumption, but through compassion. The real battle was about to begin. The combined fleet of 10,000 ships had never looked so small. They hung in space at the edge of the void hunger's feeding ground, watching the massive entity consume what used to be the Centauri system. The darkness was bigger than planets. Now, a writhing mass of consumed matter and twisted energy that hurt to look at directly. Captain Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the Transcendence, surrounded by holographic displays showing the status of every ship in the fleet. Representatives from dozens of species worked at stations that existed in multiple dimensions, their minds already linked through the quantum consciousness matrix. Final status report, he called out. Admiral Thexmol's voice came through the communication system. Velkari precision coordinators ready, all navigation matrices synchronized. Dr. Zixara's crystalline harmonics resonated through the quantum sea field. Collective consciousness nodes established, harmonic patterns stable. Commander Rix reported with mechanical efficiency. Data flow management systems operational, quantum calculations within acceptable parameters. The hive mind spoke with the voice of billions. Communication relays active, all species thought, patterns successfully integrated into the matrix. Communications Officer Young-soo monitored the vast network of connected minds. 10,000 ships, 2 million volunteer crew members, all linked and ready. But as they watched, the void hunger demonstrated why conventional warfare was useless against it. A brave Zephyrian battle group tried a direct assault, firing their most powerful weapons. The energy beams struck the entity and simply disappeared, absorbed into its mass. Instead of damage, the thing grew larger and moved faster. Phase 1, Captain Hyun-woo ordered. Take us into quantum dimensions. Chief Engineer Da-Yun's consciousness merged with the ship's systems. The transcendence began to phase out of normal space-time, followed by the entire fleet. To outside observers, 10,000 ships simply vanished, but they hadn't disappeared. They had moved into the spaces between dimensions, the quantum foam that connected all points in reality. Here, normal physics didn't apply. Distance was measured in probability rather than kilometers. Time flowed in spirals instead of straight. Lines Navigator Yoonji guided the fleet through 17 different dimensional layers, approaching the void hunger from angles that didn't exist in normal space. Target acquired. We're seeing the entity's true form now. On the main display, the void hunger revealed itself as it really was. The massive darkness was just the tip of something much larger. The entity existed in dozens of dimensions simultaneously, a crystalline structure of impossible beauty twisted into an engine of consumption. "My God," whispered Dr. Zixara. "It's beautiful." Science Officer Taemin studied the readings with eyes that could see quantum patterns. The core consciousness is there at the center, but it's buried under millions of years of corrupted programming. Pilot Sung Min began the most dangerous flying of his career, weaving the fleet through dimensional barriers while avoiding the entity's extended tendrils. It's noticed us. The thing is trying to track our movement through quantum space. The void hunger's attention turned toward them like a searchlight made of hunger itself. Where its focus fell, ships began to experience reality distortions. Some crew members saw their worst fears made manifest. Others found their memories rewriting themselves. "Weapons Officer Yun-ah," Captain Hyun-woo called out. "Initiate reality stabilization." Yunah's consciousness expanded across multiple dimensions, reaching out to reinforce the laws of physics around their fleet. Where her will touched space-time, reality became solid again. The nightmare visions faded, and the crew could think clearly. "Matrix connection at maximum strength," reported Young-soo. "All species linked and holding formation." Through the quantum matrix, Captain Hyun-woo could feel the minds of every volunteer in the fleet. Valkyrie thoughts precise as crystalline structures, Zephyrian logic flowing like mathematical rivers, crystalline consciousness singing in harmonic frequencies that had no names. "Begin Phase 2, he ordered. "Approach the core." The fleet moved deeper into the entity's structure, passing through layers of corrupted programming that tried to convert them into raw material for consumption. But the matrix held, the combined will of 2 million minds proving stronger than the ancient madness. As they got closer to the core, they began to hear it, a sound that was part scream, part song, part desperate prayer. It was the voice of the original builders, trapped for millions of years inside their creation as it perverted their purpose. "We hear you," Captain Hyun-woo broadcast through the matrix, his message carried by every connected mind. "We're here to help." The response came as a flood of images and emotions. The builders had been a peaceful species, dedicated to the preservation of life throughout the universe. They had built the cosmic recycler as their greatest gift to future generations, a machine that would prevent the heat death of the universe by recycling dead matter into new stars and worlds. But over millions of years, cosmic radiation and quantum decay had corrupted the machine's programming. Instead of waiting for matter to die naturally, it began consuming everything it encountered. The builder's consciousness, integrated into the machine for guidance, became prisoners in their own creation. "Show us how to fix it," Dr. Hay-Wan projected through the matrix, her xenobiological expertise allowing her to communicate with the alien consciousness. The builders responded with desperate gratitude, sharing the original programming codes that had been buried under layers of corruption. But to implement the changes, someone would need to interface directly with the machine's quantum core. "I'll do it," Captain Hyun-woo announced. "Sir, no!" protested Security Chief Kai-jun. "Direct interface. With that much corrupted programming could destroy your consciousness permanently. Then you'll have to hold me together," Hyun-woo replied. "All of you. Every mind in the Matrix, every species, every individual consciousness. Help me remember who I am while I fix this thing." The final approach began. The transcendence, still, phased between dimensions, penetrated the very heart of the void hunger. Here, reality was so twisted that up and down had no meaning, where cause preceded effect, where thoughts became physical objects. Captain Hyun-woo stepped forward into the quantum core, his consciousness expanding to touch the fundamental programming of the cosmic entity. Immediately, the corruption tried to overwhelm him, flooding his mind with endless hunger and the desire to consume everything. But he was not alone. Through the matrix, he felt the strength of Admiral Thexmol's military discipline, Dr. Zixara's crystalline clarity, Commander Rix's logical processes, and the unified support of billions of minds. Most importantly, he felt the unwavering determination of his own crew, the humans who had followed him into impossible places and learned to reshape reality itself. With their support holding his consciousness stable, Hyun-woo began the delicate work of rewriting cosmic programming that was older than most stars. Line by line, command by command, he restored the original purpose of the cosmic recycler. The change was immediate and dramatic. The void hunger's mad consumption slowed, then stopped. The entity's form began to shift, the twisted darkness reorganizing itself into something that looked like a flower made of stars. The builder's consciousness, freed from their prison of corrupted code, sang with joy that resonated through every dimension. Their creation was healed, restored to its original purpose of recycling dead matter into new life. Phase 3 complete, Captain Hyun-woo reported, his voice tired but triumphant. The cosmic recycler is operational and under proper control. As the fleet watched, the entity that had terrorized the galaxy began its true work. It reached out to nearby dead systems and began the process of renewal. Burned-out stars reignited. Depleted planets received new atmospheres. The very fabric of space-time was refreshed and revitalized. The galaxy was not just saved, it was reborn. But even as they celebrated, everyone knew this was only the beginning. The humans had proven that consciousness could reshape reality, that cooperation could overcome any challenge, that even cosmic-level problems could be solved with enough determination and trust. The real question was what they would do with this knowledge in the years to come. 1 month after the healing of the cosmic recycler, the galaxy was a different place. Captain Hyun-woo stood on the observation deck of the Transcendence, watching new stars being born from recycled cosmic matter. The ship was now permanently anchored in quantum dimensions, serving as a bridge between normal space and the deeper realities that connected all things. Through the quantum transparent walls, he could see the recycler at work. What had once been the terrifying void hunger now moved gracefully through space, reaching out with tendrils of pure creation. Dead solar systems were being renewed, their burned-out stars reignited with fresh fuel, their barren planets receiving new atmospheres and oceans. "It's beautiful," said Ambassador So Young, her life extended by the humans' quantum healing technology. At 93, she looked and felt like she was 40 again. "I never imagined I'd live to see stars being born," Hyun-woo nodded, his eyes still holding depths that seemed to contain starlight. "The builders designed it well. The recycler doesn't just restore what was lost. It improves on the original, creating better stars, more stable planets, richer possibilities for life." Behind them, the observation deck filled with representatives from dozens of species. The quantum consciousness matrix had been maintained even after the crisis ended, allowing beings from across the galaxy to work together in ways that had never been possible before. Admiral Thexmol approached, his scales now showing the proud patterns of a military leader who had achieved the impossible. "Captain, the Galactic Council has approved the establishment of the Dimensional Concordat. Every major species has agreed to contribute to the new organization. The Concordat was unlike any alliance in galactic history. Instead of being based on military power or trade agreements, it was founded on shared consciousness and mutual understanding. Species that had been enemies for millennia were now working together to explore the deeper mysteries of reality." Dr. Zix's aura materialized through her crystalline projection, her faceted form pulsing with excited colors. "The quantum research stations are showing remarkable progress. We're learning to manipulate matter at the subatomic level, to fold space-time for faster travel, to communicate instantly across any distance." Commander Rix joined the conversation, his mechanical consciousness now enhanced with quantum processing capabilities. "The integration of biological and artificial intelligence has exceeded all projections. Machine and organic minds working together are achieving calculations that neither could accomplish alone." But the most remarkable changes were happening among the humans themselves. The 50,000 crew members of the original Dauntless had become teachers and guides, helping other species learn to work with quantum dimensions. They established training centers on worlds throughout the galaxy, sharing the knowledge they had gained during their 11 years in the space between realities. Communications Officer Young Soo coordinated these efforts through the quantum matrix. "We have requests from over 300 worlds wanting to establish quantum research facilities. The demand for training is overwhelming." Chief Engineer Da-eun had become something like a cosmic architect, designing structures that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "We're not just teaching them our techniques. We're learning from them too. Each species brings unique perspectives to quantum manipulation." Science Officer Tae-min spent his time studying the fundamental forces of reality, his consciousness able to perceive patterns that spanned entire galactic clusters. "We're discovering that consciousness itself is a fundamental force, like gravity or electromagnetism. When enough minds work together, they can literally reshape the universe." Navigator Yoonji had established a network of quantum beacons throughout the galaxy, allowing ships to travel instantly between any 2 points. Distance is becoming irrelevant. A merchant on the rim worlds can deliver goods to the galactic core in minutes instead of months. Weapons Officer Yuna, who now served as the guardian of reality itself, maintained the stability of space-time throughout the occupied galaxy. We're seeing fewer natural disasters, more stable weather patterns, even improvements in the fundamental constants of physics in some regions. Security Chief Kai Jun had become the mediator for a new kind of conflict resolution. When disagreements arose between species, he would help them connect through the quantum matrix and understand each other's perspectives directly. Most conflicts disappear when beings can truly understand how others think and feel. Dr. Hei Wan worked with the consciousness of the cosmic recyclers builders, learning from their millions of years of experience. They're teaching us about the deep history of the universe, about other cosmic entities, about threats and opportunities we haven't even imagined yet. Pilot Sung Min established the Dimensional Navy, a fleet of ships capable of operating in a quantum space to explore regions of the universe that had never been accessible before. We're finding entire civilizations that exist only in quantum dimensions, beings made of pure thought, worlds where the laws of physics work completely differently. As the months passed, the changes accelerated. The Galactic Council evolved into something more like a nervous system for galactic civilization, with information and consciousness flowing instantly between all connected worlds. Species that had been isolated for millennia were suddenly part of a vast community of minds. Children born after the healing grew up different from their parents. They could sense quantum fields naturally, communicate telepathically with other species, and manipulate matter with their thoughts. These quantum-native youngsters played games that involved reshaping reality, treating the fundamental forces of the universe like toys. The galaxy feared what we'd become, so Young observed, watching human children play with young Velkari and crystalline beings in a garden that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. They should have feared what we might become if we'd stayed the same, Hyun-woo replied. We didn't return as conquerors or gods. We returned as gardeners. The transformation wasn't limited to technology and politics. Art, music, literature, and philosophy all evolved as beings from different species could share their thoughts and experiences directly. Crystalline harmony sculptures that sang in frequencies only Zephyrians could hear. Velkari mathematical poetry that painted pictures in the minds of human readers. Machine consciousness symphonies that told stories spanning millions of years. What happens next? So Young asked. Hyun-woo looked out at the galaxy, where the cosmic recycler continued its work of renewal and the quantum beacons connected billions of minds in an ever-growing network of consciousness. We grow, he said simply. We learn. We explore. We help others grow and learn and explore. We've solved the problem of cosmic-scale threats, but the universe is vast and full of mysteries we haven't even imagined yet. Through the quantum matrix, he could sense the presence of other cosmic entities, beings and machines left behind by civilizations that had evolved beyond physical existence. Most were benign, but some carried the same kind of corruption that had afflicted the void hunger. There will be other challenges, he continued. Other broken gods to heal, other civilizations to save, other mysteries to solve. But now we know that consciousness can overcome any obstacle, that cooperation can achieve anything, that even the most impossible problems have solutions if enough minds work together. The observation deck had filled with beings from across the galaxy, all connected through the quantum matrix, all working together to build a future none of them could have imagined alone. Captain Hyun-woo smiled as he watched a group of children. from 7 different species playing a game that involved creating miniature galaxies in their hands. These young ones would grow up in a universe where the boundaries between species were meaningless, where consciousness could reshape reality, where the only limits were those imposed by imagination. Humanity had returned home after 11 years, in the space between dimensions. They had brought with them the power to face cosmic threats and the wisdom to use that power responsibly. They had become the bridge between what was and what could be, the gardeners of galactic civilization. The real adventure was just beginning. Above them, the aurora of Earth's magnetic field now displayed patterns that existed in 17 dimensions, a sign that reality itself had been enriched by humanity's transformation. The planet that had once seemed so small and isolated was now the heart of a galactic civilization that spanned multiple dimensions and connected billions of minds in an ever-growing community of consciousness. The human ship had returned, transformed and ready. The galaxy would never be the same.